Hey everybody, bigz here. Sorry, bigz at Big Boned FFB, flying solo for the first time in a while. Chev has been with me, or he's been without me, but I haven't done a solo show for a while. So let me get my feet wet again. Got some stuff to talk about. Uh, Player Profiler News Desk is working hard to get the news out. There are rumors flying everywhere about who's going where, who's visiting what, etc. And so they're getting those blurbs out, attaching them to the player profiles on Player Profiler, and within Fast Draft, and everybody's doing a whole lot of work. So. Make sure that you are liked and subscribe to Profiler now. And hey, go get go get a subscription to Player Profiler. A lot of really great tools to help you win your fantasy league, and you can use the same code BOOTH BOOTH that you use when you go sign up for Fast Draft. Do you like drafting? Do you want to draft fast? Well, draft faster with Fast Draft. Fast Draft is the fastest draft in all of best ball. In season, we'll have DFS games. Right now, the Flex 4 is live. We're trying to fill that up to maximize the payout for you, who's going to go there and use code BOOTH for a $50 deposit match on the Player Profiler website. Code BOOTH will get you I want to say 25% off on your subscription. So that's fantastic. The Dynasty Dominator is out there, fantastic tool. All of the services are phenomenal and will help you get that edge so you can win in whatever formats you're playing in. Everything is pretty adjustable. But back to Fast Draft, the Flex 4 is live. You pick 6 players, wide receiver, running back, tight end, in a snake draft format with a third round reversal with 12 teams. You can make batches, so you make your rankings, and then that'll throw you into turbo drafts, or you can draft in the draft room, drafting against other players and other turbo drafts. So it's not like you got a guy who times out on a sleeper draft, and then suddenly the picks are going ADP, sleeper ADP, which is wonky. It is actual people that have set their rankings, and that's who you're drafting against, whether they're in the draft room or not. And drafts take somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes. So you got the Flex 4, you got the Origins draft, which is all rookies. So if you think you have a line on some rookies pre-landing spots, get in there, grab those guys, win yourself some money, and then D-up. Are you like me? Do you play a lot of IDP leagues? Are you familiar with what linebackers are going to absolutely show out this year and have 150 tackles and lead fantasy IDP in points? Do you have a line on some interior defensive lineman who's going to have a breakout year? Go grab them. Win yourself some money. Again, that's fastdraft.app and use code BOOTH for a $50 deposit match. We got comments. Jeremiah Retzliff, coach, can Lan Larison play Fast Draft? Lan Larison can play Fast Draft, and in fact, unlike myself, Lan Larison can play Fast Draft and draft himself. I cannot do that because my player card is not in the game, but Lan Larison's is. Jamie Pirog says, "Hey, dude. Hey." Or should I counter with "Sonun"? And Jamie, I'm supposed to remind you that Chuck Bass beat you at the Expo Poker Tournament. He did not. Ronnie Evans did. Chuck Bass did not. I don't think Chuck was there, and I don't think Chuck played. But Ronnie Bass played, and he beat me. So it was a tournament, 65 players, and I just stayed alive, made it to the final table, watched the other 4 guys go out, and suddenly it was Ronnie and I showdown. And if you play a lot of Hold'em tournaments, you know that in the showdown, it's definitely better to have the big stack, and I had the small stack. So basically, it whittles down. You go back and forth. Every time you bet they fold. Every time you have something, you bet they fold. Every time you don't have something, you fold right away. It keeps going back and forth like that until somebody says, fine, I'll call, whatever. Usually when that happens, it's like both have like pocket pairs of face cards. And so I kept doing that. And I went about 6 or 7 hands in a row where I was double betting the ante or the, yeah, I was not the ante, the blind. I was double betting the blind, and he kept folding. And then finally I want to say it was like queen jack offsuit, whatever. And I was like still doing that thing. And then he called me and beat me with like an ace on the board or something like that. But I won a Jamar Chase jersey that has been in the studio before, hung up behind me. And I'm going back to Canton to defend my second place crown, defend my silver medal, and maybe beat Ronnie again. But more importantly, to establish myself as the premier Hold'em player in all of fantasy football content creators. Because that would be pretty cool to like run off like 4 or 5 final tables in a row and win a few championships in a row. That'd be cool. And Jamie concedes, oh, it was Ronnie, my bad. Yeah, it was Ronnie. And shout out to Ronnie doing things out there in the AI space. He was on with Chuck Bass a few days ago, and they had a really, really good show talking about AI and rookie rankings and stuff. You should check it out right here on Player Profiler. Speaking of Player Profiler,
oh, the Breakout Finder is live. That's right. A lot of breakout models out there, but we started it all. The best and brightest minds coming up with the definitive breakout probabilities for running backs, wide receivers in this rookie class. It's $5 to download the wide receiver breakouts, the running back breakouts, but also proprietary stats available only on the Breakout Finder, including dynamic score for wide receivers, teammate score, level of competition. You can access the full stat database, plus many advanced metrics from Player Profiler, all there, right there on your phone, in the App Store, on Google Play, and that 2025 class is live.
All right. Yeah, go do that. Use code BOOTH. Get a discount. All right, let's get to the news. So basically right now, we've got a lot of rumors. Kyler Murray plans to run more in 2025. Okay. James Cook's contract drama. He's got a contract drama. His contract negotiations with the Bills are far from settled. He's seeking a substantial raise to $15 million per year. The Bills have yet to meet the demands, leading to further uncertainty about his future in Buffalo. The recent move of listing his house for sale has sparked speculation about a potential change of scenery. While it could be a personal decision, it's hard to ignore the timing. As the Bills navigate salary cap space in the upcoming draft, Cook's future role with the team remains in serious question. I have news for you, James Cook. You have zero leverage, and you're not going to get what you want from the Buffalo Bills. They are zero incentivized from letting you move on as long as it's not a prohibitive cap hit and drafting somebody else in the draft. Now, T. Higgins put up a fuss with his contract negotiations and, being franchise tagged and everything. Jamar Chase did the same thing. Wide receivers can do that. There is no market for running backs. And after this year, I think the market is going to plunge even deeper because of the amount of running backs that are coming out this year. If you think about it, last year there were at least 100 running backs that all had jobs. And now in this draft, you are supplementing that 100 minus the attrition of retirements and injury loss with another 25 to 30. So you have to think that some of that 25 to 30 are going to be taking starting jobs, and a whole lot of them are going to be taking RB2 jobs, and another whole bunch of them are going to be on practice squads. So there isn't any wiggle room for running back with their contracts. You just kind of have to suck it up and take what they pay you. Now, as to him selling his house, people sell their houses. It doesn't mean that they're moving from the city. He could have found a better house in the city, and that's what he's trying to do. And speaking of running backs, Ashton Jeanty to the Bears is picking up steam. Among the many suitors for Ashton Jeanty, the Chicago Bears appear to have the stud rookie running back in their sights. He is the bona fide 101, pretty much consensus. He's widely considered the best rookie running back amongst NFL scouts. Scouts around the league have revealed that the Chicago Bears have great interest in Jeanty. They have the 10th pick in the first round. In recent years, the running back position has had a significant drop collectively in average draft capital. A resurgent season by Saquon Barkley that resulted in a Super Bowl win for the Eagles is causing a market correction toward running back value. I don't necessarily buy that. Although Jeanty is, he's pretty much likely to be top 10. But the big rumor is that they're going to be offering the Raiders a chance to drop back to 10 and pop up to 6. In a perfect world, in my perfect world, he'd be there for the Bears at 10 anyway, because the Raiders will have drafted Membu, and that's who I want them to take. But if the Bears are willing to pay, you get the 10th pick, you get probably another second rounder, which would be great, and then first next year, I do that in a heartbeat. And the Raiders are in a good position with the fact that Jeanty is likely going to be available at 6. All right, Isaiah Bond released after a sexual assault warrant. Former Texas Longhorns wide receiver Isaiah Bond turned himself in after a warrant for sexual assault was issued. After an underwhelming combine, Bond's stock was slowly rising up mock draft boards. He's projected day 2, third-round pick in the April 2025 draft. He released the following statement, quote, "Regarding the accusation made against me, I would appreciate the time and opportunity to defend myself and prove the claims made patently false. I am in full cooperation with the authorities and will remain a willing and active participant in the investigation. Unfortunately, claims like these prove to be harmful to all involved, absent full review. I kindly request that all reserve judgment until the authorities provide a complete report based on truth and evidence." Unquote. The NFL most likely won't directly impose a penalty on Bond. However, collective NFL teams may look at this incident as a character concern, which is true. So the teams are going to do their due diligence, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Bond take a Laramie Tunsil type fall. But the thing that really gets me is Bond released the following statement, and then, "Unfortunately, claims like these prove to be harmful to all involved, absent full review." I'm pretty sure Isaiah Bond didn't write absent full review. He did go to the University of Texas. I don't think they teach that level of English at the University of Texas. And what is with the people from the players from the University of Texas? We had Rashee Rice involved in some stuff, and then now Isaiah Bond, both of them Texas graduates, and then you go over to SMU and Sky Moore. I'd like kids from Texas. You need to settle down. All right. Moving on. In fantasy news that shakes the startup environment, Jets wide receiver Alan Lazard took an $8.5 million pay cut to remain on the team with the Jets in 2025. Earlier this offseason, Lazard asked to be traded by the Jets with no suitors. Lazard was in line to make $11 million this year. However, the Jets renegotiated the contract, saved $8.5 million against the cap with this renegotiated contract. Good for him. You don't hear a lot about guys taking less, especially when they don't carry enough value to be traded for some cash or a 7th-round pick or something. In my least favorite news, I want to talk real quickly about the reports of teams visiting. On my Raiders show last night, I went through and I read back the last couple of years of the Raiders and their 30 visits and who of those groups they actually drafted. And the numbers weren't great. It was like they drafted they acquired a total of 4 out of the 30, on top of the fact that they players at the Combine and the Senior Bowl and their pro days and the Raiders pro day, etc. The Raiders this year have had like 5 quarterbacks including Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Tyler Shuck, and I think a 6th one that they're going to be visiting with. They're going to be visiting with all of those guys, 6 or 7 quarterbacks. There's a high likelihood they don't draft any of them. The Bears will have 2 stud running backs. Genty will be a great backup for Roschon. Roschon Johnson, shine is what I'm here for. Thank you, Jamie. So Omarion Hampton visits with the Steelers and the Giants. Running back and projected first-round Omarion Hampton visited with the Giants on Thursday, one day after he met with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. New York is unlikely to spend the number 3 overall pick on Hampton, but they pick again at number 34. If he's still on the board, they consider him a steal at that point. A trade up to re-enter the first round is also a possibility. He spent time with the Steelers on Wednesday. Pittsburgh currently holds the 21st selection. They added Kenneth Gainwell and Evan Hull in free agency. Ooh, we have an Evan Hull signing, you guys. Follow him to Pittsburgh because he was a Combine darling. And we know how Combine darlings like Isaac Garendo have worked out before. Evan Hull just got hurt his rookie season. There are questions whether Jaylen Warren can carry the full workload on a run-first team. 3 years ago, I wanted Jaylen Warren to carry the workload. That did not happen. Caleb Johnson stacking up the visits, one after the other, because that's what they do. On Wednesday and Thursday, Caleb Johnson had visits with the New York Giants and Cincinnati, respectively, in preparation for the 2025 NFL Draft. The Big Ten running back of the year and consensus All-American will assuredly have more top 30 visits in the coming week, including with the Raiders. I put that in there. That sentence stopped at in the coming week, and then I threw in including with the Raiders, because that's that appointment has been made. Giants have made it no secret they're entertaining the idea of a big-ticket running back. Well, sure, because they dropped the ball on the last one. Way to go, guys. Joe Flacco is back with the Browns. Cleveland Browns are bringing back quarterback Joe Flacco. 1-year deal, $4 million, could turn into $13 million from incentives. A couple years ago, 2023, back end of the season, he won some championships. Fun to watch. Still has a big arm. Super Bowl champion. I hesitate to say this, but on balance, if Flacco gets another, 10 games in, adds up some more yards and more touchdowns and stuff, and he has a Super Bowl ring, Hall of Fame, would you rather Joe Flacco or Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame? I think the edge on that one goes to Manning, but I think Joe Flacco has an argument for the Hall of Fame at this point. All right. Headline: the Cleveland Browns may not be the top choice for Shedeur Sanders. Now, are you saying that Sanders may not want to go to Cleveland? While the Browns may want to select Shedeur Sanders with the number 2 overall pick, the feeling may not be reciprocal. Yeah, you are saying that. With Cam Ward being selected at the number 1 overall by the Tennessee Titans becoming more crystallized each day, the nexus of focus swings toward what the Cleveland Browns will do with pick 2 overall in the NFL Draft. Well, obviously, they'll take Abdul Carter. Because Shedeur doesn't want to go to there. So, yeah. Tight end Mason Taylor is visiting with the Miami Dolphins. Hoorah! LSU tight end Mason Taylor, son of former Miami Dolphins great Jason Taylor. Visiting with the Dolphins. We had Andrew Cooper on our Dynasty show the other day, and we were talking about tight ends, and I posed the idea of Mason Taylor going to Miami, and he was all excited. That's at Koopa Fiasco, tight end guru. Jonnu Smith is there. He's 29. That means he still has a couple years left. But Mason Taylor, some people think that he needs some reps to have his breakout. He's not likely to have the Sam Laporta type, Brock Bowers type breakout in his first season, Kyle Pitts, etc. he's probably going to be on the track that most normal tight ends have traditionally been on, and that is to go a few years before they finally come out and are uber productive. He's got talent, bloodlines, all that stuff, athleticism, but it's still another interesting point that he made is that if you go back through history, it's not, there aren't a lot of tight end threes of their own draft class that were productive in the NFL. And we're looking at this tight end class as 7 possible NFL starters. That's just historically not what's happened. So this is either going to fall along the lines of history, and there will be 3 at most productive tight ends out of this class. My guesses would be Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren, and I'll say Oronde Gadsden II. I like Harold Fenton Jr. I like Harold Fenton too. But I'll give it to those 4. That would even be kind of an outlier. Or so it's either gonna like be true to history, or it's gonna be a complete outlier historical tight end class if all 7 of those guys somehow hit. What's most likely to happen? The first one. And finally finishing up the news, Derek Carr's shoulder injury throws the Saints quarterback plans into chaos. The Saints suddenly have a big question mark at quarterback as Derek Carr is now dealing with a shoulder injury that could threaten his 2025 season. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Carr is weighing his options and surgery is on the table. Well, yeah, that's where surgery is. That alone puts his status for the season in doubt. There had already been some offseason chatter about Carr's future in New Orleans, but with the team expecting him to be the starter heading into 2025, this injury throws a wrench into what was supposed to be a more stable situation under center. Carr's best fantasy season came all the way back in 2016 when he finished 13th in fantasy points per game. Since then, he's been a middling quarterback 2 without much upside. Even with the new head coach, Kellen Moore, Carr's long-term future in New Orleans looks uncertain. From a fantasy football perspective, things could get interesting quickly. If Carr ends up missing time, the Saints will need to pivot. Spencer Rattler is currently on the roster, and with surprise, and with the number 9 overall pick in the draft, New Orleans is in a great position to grab a quarterback. 3 names to watch are Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, and Quinn Ewers. All 3 have shown flashes of big-time upside, but may need time to develop behind a veteran. Still, if Carr isn't ready for week 1, the Saints might not have that luxury. Rattler could be a deep superflex stash, and if New Orleans goes the rookie route, fantasy gamers will want to keep tabs on which QB they draft. This situation has a lot of moving parts, and it could impact the fantasy value of guys like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Alvin Kamara, depending on who ends up under center. I would quibble with this. I don't think it impacts Olave or Kamara very much. It's going to affect Shaheed, but I think Olave is still the target leader, and Kamara is going to do Kamara things. But yeah, rough time in New Orleans for Carr. He was going along, had close to an MVP season in 2016 with the Raiders in Oakland. Got his leg broken and destroyed really his ankle, and it was bad. Had some trouble in 2017 because he was trying to fight adjacent injuries. So like if you are an athlete on that level and you sustain one injury, you're going to have other injuries pop up as a result of that because of overcompensation of other body systems. So he dealt with that with his back in 2017. 2018 came back strong. He was good for a couple years. In 2022, I want to say that was the season that Gruden got fired. It was Rich Bisaccia time, and Derek Carr basically put the team on his back, won 4 games in a row to get into the playoffs, and then a terrible play call and a terrible play call on 4th and goal against Cincinnati to win the game with the time running out. Just nobody got open, and their playoff hopes were dashed. And then the next year was when he got run out of Oakland by Josh McDaniels and on to New Orleans, where last year he had an historic start and then that offensive line just could not hold up, and he just got bounced around, bounced on his head, etc. Broken, battered, weary. All right. On the clock, best ball. Would you rather have Higgins or Evans? Mike Evans. No. Yeah, Mike Evans. I think my decision on that one just kind of goes to the fact that Mike Evans is the wide receiver one. I mean, he has plenty of spike games on his own, and that's being the wide receiver one. And then his floor is higher. So I would go Evans. He's, there's every player who has a long career in the NFL has a certain point in fantasy where it's like this arc. So they're young, and then suddenly they hit this fulcrum where they're like, Jamie's clicking the button on Evans. Good show, mate. They hit this point where people start to talk about their age and how old they are. And then from that point, it's just a matter of time before they start living up to the fact that they're old. And you have two choices to make in fantasy. Do you want to be the last one holding them, or do you want to bet on their failure? Who's going to bet against Mike Evans? Yes, he's a year older, but he's done it 10 seasons in a row, and he's incentivized to go for the record. Are you going to bet against that? I don't think I would right now. Now, if the Buccaneers go out and draft Ted McMillan and Chris Godwin comes back and he's fully healthy, then you go into your late summer best balls and you make the Higgins pick. All right, let's talk some draft stuff, shall we?
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Cimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
All right. Okay, I have a mock draft simulator that I'm going to pop on the screen. Boom, let's do a PFF mock draft. All right, so the Titans are on the clock, and the Titans are going to go with Cam Ward, right? Everybody kind of see that? Cam Ward? And Cleveland is on the clock. All right, so are we listening to the rumors about Shedeur not wanting to go to Cleveland? Are we banking on the fact that Cleveland understands that going into the season with the quarterback roster they have now, they're going to need to do something? Are they going to take Shedeur? You think they take Shedeur? Put a 1 in the chat if you think that they're going to take Shedeur. Put a 0 if you think they take somebody else. I think they take somebody else. I think they go Hunter. And then the Giants go Abdul Carter. This isn't hard, you guys. Yeah. There you go, Jamie. Same wavelength. All right, Patriots on the clock. And there is some essentially what they're trying to say is that the Patriots really need a wide receiver. They did go out and sign Stephon Diggs, and they gave him a fairly big contract for a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver coming off a couple really bad years and then a pretty bad injury. That's a lot of money to invest in Stephon Diggs. And in the NFL, we follow the money. Where the big investments are, those are the people who are going to get the ball. Now, the Patriots at 4, they have an opportunity to grab Ted McMillan, who by some scouts is the consensus wide receiver 1 in this class. He doesn't mirror any profiles that the Patriots already have in-house. And the other thing to consider is the fact that their offensive line was garbage. They have a lot more problems than wide receiver. In fact, if you want to try and say that Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, along with Pop Douglas and Stephon Diggs, have an opportunity to have their, get better in year 2, which, happens. They don't need to draft a wide receiver, especially in the first round, but they do need to protect Drake May because that's their big investment. So I have them taking Will Campbell. And the Jaguars are on the clock. This is a tough one. But I feel like they take Mason Graham, D-tackle, out of Michigan. And now it's time for the Raiders. Not that most of you care about the Raiders, but I do. And everybody thinks they're going to take Genty, but since I am doing this for posterity, I'm going to go with my guy, the one that I want them to take, and that is Armin Membo, Missouri tackle. And my thinking is that you don't need to be beholden to Genty's contract because that's what happens in the first round. You have the 5th-year option that's out there and everything. And also, go get guys in the 4th and 5th round, 6th round this year. You don't need one superstar running back to do the things that a couple of role guys who are gifted athletically and in an historic running back class can do later on for cheaper. It just doesn't make sense. All right, so with that, we go to the Jets, and this just feels like Jahdae Barron to me, right? Sauce on one side and Barron on the other. Oh, it's scary. And then the Panthers go with Tet. This is where the Saints jump up and take Shedeur, right? That sound right to you guys? And I can't find him on the. Good Lord. Shedeur Sanders is 47th on the PFF rank. But let's put him in New Orleans. And then we get Chicago getting Genty without having to trade up. What do the 49ers do? 49ers take Jihad Campbell. Dre Greenlaw, I think, is going to be a loss that they don't anticipate. Cowboys, Mike Green. And then you throw him on the other side of Micah Parsons, and that's sick. Sick. All right, Miami sneaks in there and grabs Warren ahead of Indy. Oh my goodness, what are they doing? I can see that, right? Do all the teams have their own first round picks this year? I'm pretty sure. For now. Until the Chiefs and Bills or something. All right. So where are we at? So we're at pick 14. Indy's on the clock. They just got sniped. We got Cam Ward at 1, Travis Hunter at 2 to the Browns, Abdul Carter at 3 to the Giants, Will Campbell at 4 to the Patriots, Mason Graham at 5 to the Jaguars, Membo to the Raiders at 6, Jahdae Barron to the Jets, Tedero McMillan to the Panthers, Shedeur Sanders to the Saints, Ashton Genty to the Bears, Jihad Campbell to the 49ers, Mike Green to the Cowboys, and Tyler Warren to the Dolphins. All right, and looking at Indy, I think they go Kelvin Banks here. I just have a feeling, or let's give him Josh Simmons. I think. Is it Simmons? No, it'll be Kelvin Banks. Let's give him Kelvin Banks. Um, they need offensive line help. Boop. And the Falcons. Shout out Mike Greinberg. Falcons. They are. Oh, I typically give them Campbell because they like themselves some. Let's give them Starks. And the Cardinals go Luther Burden. Cincy needs defensive help as Araku. Seattle, offensive line help, Josh Simmons. Tampa Bay, James Pierce Jr. Broncos. Oh, this is where I usually cook Johnny Tuma and give them Alec Aomanor. But I'm going to go Will Johnson and put him opposite side of their guy, Surtain. The Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock, and could you imagine if right now the Steelers trade out of the 21, acquire Tyreek Hill from Miami, and send Miami George Pickens and a pick, and they get Miami's second rounder or more? How cool would that be? Steelers, let's give them Kenneth Grant. Chargers, Colston Loveland. Green Bay, Walter Nolan. Minnesota, mad about the Nolan pick. Draft Michael Williams. Houston, keep Shamar Stewart in the state. The Rams, grab Emeka Ibuka to go along with Puka Nacua. So it'd be the Nacua Ibuka offense. Ravens, Jalen Walker. Is there a more perfect Ravens pick than Jalen Walker? I don't think so. We got Jonah's Whale. What does that sound like? Jonah's Whale, thank you for watching. If you have any quibble with any of the draft picks I've made so far, go ahead and throw those in the chat. Also, put in the chat what Jonah's Whale sounds like. All right, back to it. We got the Lions and Derek Harmon. God, that's filthy. Washington, Omarion Hampton. The Bills. I don't know. Trey Amos just seems like a Bills pick. The Chiefs, Matthew Golden. And the Eagles, Gray Zabel. All right. Ooh. Stay in your seats, guys. They're grading my draft. Select up to 3 teams to... Okay, whatever. All right, so with the first pick, the Titans take Cam Ward. Travis Hunter goes 2 to the Browns. Abdul Carter 3 to the Giants. Will Campbell 4 to the Patriots. Mason Graham 5 to the Jaguars. Armand Membo 6 to the Raiders. Jade Barron 7 to the Jets. Tedero McMillan 8 to the Panthers. Shadur Sanders 9 to the Saints. Genty 10 to the Bears. Campbell 11 to the Niners. Mike Green 12 to the Cowboys. Tyler Warren 13 to the Dolphins. Kelvin Banks 14 to the Colts. Malachi Starks, 15 to the Falcons. Luther Burden III goes to Arizona. And we got Ezraku, 17 to the Bengals. Simmons, 18 to the Seahawks. James Pierce, 19 to the Buccaneers. Will Johnson, 3 Michigan. Boom, boom, boom. Didn't even notice that. Will Johnson, cornerback to the Broncos. Kenneth Grant to the Steelers at 21. Colson Loveland to the Chargers at 22. Walter Nolan to the Packers at 23. Michael Williams to the Vikings at 24. Shamar Stewart to the Texans at 25. Emeka Ibuka at 26 to the Rams. Jalen Walker at 27 to the Ravens. Derek Harmon to the Lions at 28. Omarion Hampton to the Commanders at 29. Trey Amos to the Bills at 30. Matthew Golden to Kansas City. And Gray Zabel to Philly at 32. A couple of notes that I can think of. I could see Shedeur falling further or being taken at 2. So that's fun. A lot of people, there's a lot of defense in this draft, and a lot of guys that kind of fit teams' auras. And some people think that Colson Loveland is going to be the better of the 2 tight ends in the first round. The other thing is, how many wide receivers went in the first round? 3? Yeah, just 3. And I keep getting asked on shows, how many wide receivers do I think are going to go? Oh, is that 4? Well, if you count Travis Hunter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And I think that's about right. I think 4, if you count Hunter, 5, and then running backs 2 in the first. I don't see more than 2 in the first. All right, that was. If you have any pushback on what this draft looks like, who's your team? Who did I pick for your team? And do you love or hate that pick? I know that Jamie loves the Travis Hunter pick. I would. It would be a double-edged sword being a Browns fan, but then also getting Travis Hunter. Be like, yay! But we're still the Browns. Similar to the Raiders, I would be so chuffed by Membo. Yay! But still a Raiders fan. Boo. Jamie says, I like lots of these picks. Whoa, which ones do you like? Which ones do you like the best? I feel like Jahdae Barron to the Jets is pretty ruthless. Could you imagine being like the Patriots and finally getting your quarterback and finally getting some wide receivers in that wide receiver core, and then you go out there and everybody lines up and you got Jahdae Barron on one side and Sauce Gardner on the other? Or Will Johnson to the Broncos. You're the Raiders. You finally got your quarterback. You finally got your wide receiver core. You got Brock Bowers. You got a couple of fantastic running backs out of the draft, including Lan Larison, who's a phenomenal pass catcher. You all line up, and then you got Patrick Surtain on one side and Will Johnson on the other. That would be ridiculous. Loveland to the Chargers is my favorite. Yeah, I feel like there are 2 kind of locks right now, and that's Tyler Warren to the Colts and Loveland to the Chargers. Loveland was a Harbaugh recruit. Loveland was a Harbaugh guy. And Tyler Warren is kind of the consensus tight end 1. And for some reason, everybody thinks the Colts need a tight end when we all know they got the big guy waiting in the wings. So, yeah. Let's talk about some defensive IDP fast draft.
I am proud to announce that Fast Draft now has an all-defense game called D-Up. That's right, fans of IDP finally have a real money best ball game that they can play. No more manually setting up leagues every time you want to do a draft. No. Now you can play for 10 grand, 2,000 to first. Could draft up to 30 teams, all defense. And the best part, balanced scoring, tackles for loss, pass breakups. It all factors in. Just draft 6 defensive players, top 4 into your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's so easy that this isn't just for IDP people. If you love the NFL, then you'll love this game. And for the first time with Fast Draft, you can sweat both sides of the ball on Sunday. So use your host's promo code to get a $25 deposit match, and you'll love this D-Up contest because it's about time we got one.
Woo! Cussing. Yeah. Jamie in the chat says Hampton to the Commanders is good. How do you think he pairs with B-Rob? I don't think that he pairs with B-Rob. I think he completely takes over and B-Rob becomes the spell back, the 5 carries a game back, and Hampton is the leader in that RB room. Robinson doesn't have the draft capital. There are so many guys who have been starters that are going to lose out to draft capital in this draft because there's so many running backs. I don't remember if it was this show or I think it was this show where I said what they need to do is make a supplemental running back round. So the top 32 running backs, you go in like become the running back round. So like maybe it's round 4 after 3 rounds, it's only running backs. So you can't take a running back before then, and then you can't take a running back after then. But those 32 running backs have to be drafted, and it just goes in draft order. And so everybody picks from the 32 running backs, and that's it. Y'all get one. I think that would be cool. Because I think all 32 of those running backs could have jobs. They're all good enough to have jobs in the NFL this year, which is absolutely nuts. COVID and the NIL thing have really, really done a number on the running back position, the running back market, and the running back environment. So, all right, that's going to do it. Chev will be back with me next week. Thank you all for watching. Go to fastdraft.app. Download the app. Use code BOOTH for a $50 deposit match. Check out our news archive at playerprofiler.com/news. Make sure that you're following either if you're watching this on Twitter, Player Profiler Now, make sure you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not already subscribed or following on Twitter, go to profiler_NFL or news, which they change it, so I don't know which one it is right now. And do that. Follow us on all the platforms and everything. Follow Player Profiler, follow the news, follow Player Profiler Now. And check me out at Big Boned FFB on Twitter, Big Boned on Blue Sky, Big Boned on Sleeper. If you are wanting to play in the Scott Fish Bowl, go to scottfishbowl.com and sign up for it. You can't get an invitation if you haven't signed up for it, and you can't draft if you don't have an invitation, and you can't be in a live if you're not going to draft. So if you want to draft, if you're in Northern California, you want to draft in Sacramento on June 21st in a live draft for the Scott Fish Bowl, go sign up, indicate you want to be in the Sacramento live draft. I'm the coordinator of that. So I will do whatever I can to help you. And then, we'll see you next week.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to playerprofiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.